So do you admit that you probably don't know very much about Elon Musk, considering the fact you didn't even know he was an engineer, which is like 90% of what he does?
I think I know enough to say that he's really smart in some ways and really stupid and dangerous in other ways.
Okay, but you didn't even know he was an engineer. This is like super basic information on him.
Okay,
like,
so assuming that he's an engineer, I don't need to know that he's an engineer to know that he's smart in some ways and dumb in other ways. I think that he's kind of proven that he's pretty dumb as it relates to politics, you know? Like, I think it's a pretty dumb thing to support the AfD in Germany. I think it's a pretty dumb thing to say that you want to cut wasteful government expenditure, but then inevitably your department costs more to run than the amount that they're cutting.
How's it going?
What's up, Johnny? You support Trump?
Yeah. What do you? I'm curious. What do you think about Elon Musk?
I have a lot of thoughts on Elon Musk. I think that Elon Musk, doesn't really know much about politics, and he's not that smart of a guy, and that he's done a lot of harm, not only to America.
You don't think he's a smart guy?
Arguably, I don't think he's the smartest. No.
I mean, he started a rocket company, an electric car company.
Yeah,
Pretty smart.
Well, I will say, I think that he's made some smart investments, right?
Investments,
but I also think he's made a lot of dumb investments.
Your claim is he's not a smart guy. He's chief engineer at a private rocket company, the only one to ever be created. He's not just an investor. He's the chief engineer.
He's a chief engineer?
He's the chief engineer at SpaceX.
So do you think that he's personally involved, like the engineering of the rockets?
Yes, that is what he spends all his time doing. He is the chief engineer. He engineers the rockets. He literally changed the entire design of the rocket to be steel. He's constantly the one making the major decisions.
Okay. I'm not sure if that's true. Do you mind if I speak? I'm not sure that's true. Everybody,
what's your source?
Oh my, Johnny, what are you doing?
What? You're
interrupting me after I just asked you not to. What? Just calm down. Let me finish speaking.
Bro, what's your claim that he...
No, stop. I just need you to acknowledge that you've interrupted me every time I've opened my mouth, and I don't want you to do that.
You can try to avoid these questions by saying this. Just answer
You interrupted me again, like right there. Okay, Johnny, and you're doing it again. I'm just going to have to put you on mute. So you said that he's a chief engineer, and that makes him a smart guy. Okay, I'm not so sure that he's a chief engineer. But if he is, assuming that you're telling the truth, here's my thoughts. This means that I think he's smart in some ways. All right. You got to have some intelligence in some niches in order to be the chief engineer of an aerospace company. That's obviously true. But I also just think he's really dumb in other ways, okay? You know, like if you go to a doctor, for instance, how smart are they going to be able to tell you how to fix a broken TCM in the transmission of like a 2020 Chevy Corvette, all right? They're going to be stupid as it relates to that, all right? They're not going to be able to tell you whatsoever, right? Just like even if you go to Elon Musk, somebody that might be the chief engineer of an aerospace company, once again, I'm not convinced he's an engineer at all. I don't think that necessarily implies that he's going to be the smartest person in the world as it applies to politics. And I think that he's kind of proven that. I think that he's kind of proven that he's pretty dumb as it relates to politics, you know? Like, I think it's a pretty dumb thing to support the AfD in Germany. I think it's a pretty dumb thing to say that you want to cut wasteful government expenditure, but then inevitably your department costs more to run than the amount that they're cutting. And this government, this office is being run under Trump, who is a wasteful spender in of itself and has deleted all of the progress that Doge has quote unquote made with one bill through Congress. And then Elon Musk finally addressed that. But basically, in summation, in response to your original question, what are my thoughts on Elon Musk? I think he can be intelligent in some ways. I think he's done good things. Like, for instance, investing in his internet company, where he has all of like the satellites in space, and he could give super high quality internet to anywhere on Earth. That's an awesome innovation. I think I'm so happy that somebody with a lot of money invested money into that. Starlink is like awesome, dude. I love Starlink. But then I just think that he's also really fucking stupid in a lot of other ways.
Okay, sorry. You talking really long paragraphs, and then you get mad at me for interrupting when I got your point a few minutes ago. So do you admit that you probably don't know very much about Elon Musk, considering the fact you didn't even know he was an engineer, which is like 90% of what he does?
I think I know enough to say that he's really smart in some ways and really stupid and dangerous in other ways.
Okay, but you didn't even know he was an engineer. This is like super basic information on him.
Okay, assuming that he's an engineer, I don't need to know that he's an engineer to know that he's smart in some ways and dumb in other ways. Typically, the ways that I think he's smart in is the investments that he's made in
Okay,
companies
you
like
interrupted me
Starlink.
and muted me, which you specifically asked me not to do to you, and then you did it right back to me. So you're being hypocritical.
So you could call that hypocrisy. That's fine. Let's focus on the substance of the conversation. I'm fine with that being labeled
When
as
you interrupt
hypocrisy.
me, let's focus on the substance. When I interrupt you, I'm a bad person. Okay, yeah, that's fair.
It is my live. It is my live. And you interrupted me to be a jackass. I interrupted you because you were intentionally misrepresenting
did
what
not.
I said
I was in the- I
after
didn't
I
inter-
repeated it 3 times.
Okay, so this is very dishonest what you're doing right now. I think
Oh, wait,
that's
wait,
very
wait, wait.
clear.
I wouldn't say that he's an engineer. What degree does he have in engineering?
You don't need a degree in engineering to know engineering.
Yes, you
Look
do.
up-
Okay, Johnny,
who
can
is
we
the
get back to the
chief-
debate
look up who
instead
is-
of rage baiting here?
So,
Like actual politics.
yeah,
Okay,
yo, W. Kenneth for that one. I'd actually like to clarify. You absolutely do need a degree.
Keep on muting me. Who's the chief engineer at SpaceX? Look it up. Chief engineer.
Yeah, he gave himself that title on paper because he owns the LLC. That doesn't make him an
No!
engineer.
Oh my-
Don't if you interrupt me, I'm going to kick you, Johnny. So I know what
interrupted
makes
me
there you go.
constantly
Yap 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 yap.
You
Hey
are so
Johnny,
dishonest.
shut the
You are so
fuck up.
dishonest.
I will let you speak as soon as I'm done. Holy fuck.
Bro, you interrupt me, but
He's still
then
going.
let's get
Fine.
back to the substance.
Everybody,
You
let the
interrupt
baby
me, I
whine.
interrupt you, I'm a bad person. This is so ridiculous. If you think you need a degree to understand physics, by the way, he has a degree in physics, which what do you think engineering is? It's physics. Then you don't understand a single thing about how the world works. Engineering doesn't change whether or not you have a degree. It's about whether or not you have the knowledge how to be an engineer. You can literally read any book he's done or look at any project he's done. It's engineering.
Great. So the baby stopped whining. Thank you so much. So actually,
now we're going to insults.
oh my
Which
god.
automatically-
Okay, speak more. Fine, get it out.
No, you insulted me, which is intellectually dishonest and means that you're not thinking logically anymore and you're getting emotional. So let's try to think logically and not just go to insults like a child, and let's actually try to have a logical discussion here without emotions being involved if you're able to do that.
Bruh, I'm sorry. It's not my fault that you're whining, but I'm definitely going to call it out
Yep,
when I see
and
it.
there it is again, going
you're-
straight to insults
There's another
instead of
interruption.
actually
Let me know when you're done, bruh. Holy fuck. Let me know when you're done.
Let me know when you're done going to
fucking Mick
insults instead of actually
Yapperson down
being
here.
a logical thinking human being that's not under the age of 15. Let me know when you can have a logical thinking discussion.
Honestly,
Are you
there it
now
goes
ready
again.
to have a logical discussion without going to emotional insults?
Man, I've been ready. I'm just waiting for you to stop talking.
Okay, perfect. Let's go.
Perfect. So first and foremost, you're calling me illogical for my
Yes.
reference. Oh God, Johnny, do I need to mute you?
I said one word, and you
Yeah,
threw off your
exactly. It was
entire-
one word that interrupted what I said. So you're calling me illogical for saying that you're whining. I'm not going to lie, Johnny. I think that is the most logical, valid, and sound claim that I have made since I started this damn live stream, okay? I understand that you don't like that word, okay? It makes you defensive because it's aggravating to be called out for what you're doing, but it is absolutely a logically consistent, intellectually coherent, and sound fact of reality to say that you're whining like a baby, okay? So I don't want you to promote this idea that I'm automatically illogical and emotional for like calling you a whiny baby. I mean, that's like me saying that the sun is shining really, really bright and warm today when it's 120 degrees out. I'm just calling the shots for what they are. Okay? But anyways, moving on to the substance of our conversation, you told me that you don't need a degree in engineering in order to be an engineer. So that's actually not true. Okay? So to be an engineer, right? Legally speaking, in all 50 states, there are qualifications and standards just like being a doctor or a lawyer, right? In order to be a doctor, you need to go to med school, okay? In order to be a lawyer, you have to pass the bar. And in order to be an engineer, you have to have a PE, a professional engineering license, all right? That there's a license that is required to be a legally operable engineer in all 50 states. It's called a PE license, all right? I know because my father has one, right? And in order to get a PE license, you have to go to school for engineering, right? You have to get at least an undergrad, requiring 4 years, and then you have to pass the PE test. So if you want to say that you don't need to be a legally classified considered engineer, meaning you have the PE and you got the undergrad in engineering in order to be considered an engineer, okay, well, this is just like saying that you can be a lawyer without passing the bar, or like saying you could be a doctor without going to med school. You could be an engineer without having a PE or an FE, right?
Am I now able to talk after your 5-minute rant?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, because once again, you go on these really, really, really long things that after I got the point 5 minutes ago, and then you say I'm interrupting you. Number one, it wasn't a logical fact that I was being a whiny baby. That is obviously just false. I was saying that you were a hypocrite, and then you called me a whiny baby because you were being a hypocrite. And moving furthermore, everything that you said was completely ridiculous. Maybe the technical qualifications for what you would consider to be an engineer is the only way to be an engineer, but that's false because the physics of reality do not change whether or not you have a degree. If you have an understanding of how physics works and how to use the programs that actually design things and create things, you are an engineer. I don't care what qualifications you have. If you can design a rocket and send it into space that nobody thought was even physically possible, then you're an engineer. Whether or not you know the law better than a lawyer, and that lawyer passed the bar, then you are now a lawyer, better than that lawyer is. I don't care what qualifications you have. And furthermore than that, you didn't even know that Elon Musk was chief engineer at SpaceX. That is his title, and he engineers the rockets. So if his title is chief engineer, he engineers the rockets, and he designs the rockets, and you're saying he's not an engineer? Now that is ridiculous.
Great. Thank you so much for your response. Yeah, for sure. You could say that you could be an engineer without a PE or an FE, but once again, that's just like saying you could be a lawyer without passing the bar. And I think that you even brought up in your last statement that you agree with that, and I just think that's like an intelligible position. I don't really think anybody will really care. Honestly, I have a task for you. I want you to go to your state engineering board, you know, where you get the PE or the FEs from, and I want you to ask that state engineering board if you could be an engineer without one of their licensees. Okay,
so
what they will do,
definitions of
what they will do is they will laugh at you and then they'll hang up, right? Or go to any engineer with a PE, right? Go to any engineer with a PE and say, if you could do what they could do. You legally can't. You cannot legally classify yourself as an engineer and run like a consulting company. Let's say for like foundational work on like construction. You cannot do that without a PE license. You'll get fined, and if you don't pay the fine, you will be imprisoned. Funny enough. Anyways. Obviously, like you said, we have different definitions of how we classify and consider engineers, doctors, and lawyers. I think more people are going to agree with mine than yours, but whatever. I want to move on to the second thing that you said. You said, well, because his job title is head engineer, this must mean that he's an engineer. So I could pay $10, and in 3 hours from now, I could make a new LLC, and I can make my title dictator of the world. Okay? That doesn't mean that I actually am the dictator of the world. That just means that I wrote down my job title on a piece of paper as dictator of the world. Okay? But now that we've moved on from these more minuscule points, I want you to respond to the big point. That being that you asked me for my thoughts on Elon Musk, and I said, I think he's smart in some ways, and I think he's dumb in other ways. All right, that's the big point. That was the big, grander response to your first question. And honestly, I think it's crazy that we're still stuck on this first question, because we should be debating about why you support Trump, but you would rather debate me on the legal classification of what is or isn't an engineer. I mean, I win that debate. But anyways, if you want to spend some time responding to the final summation of my thoughts that he's smart in some ways, dumb in other ways, feel free. But then hopefully, and I bet Kinna is also begging for this, is to get moving on to a conversation about why you support Trump.
Okay, so first of all, when I first asked that question, you didn't say he's smart in some ways. You said you don't think he's very smart. And then later, I got you convinced to say that he's smart in some ways because I said he was chief engineer. And furthermore, that this is obviously relating to Trump because of the massive support and work together.
I'm muting you for your dishonesty. I had a conversation with my girlfriend this morning about Elon Musk. I said the same thing to her that I'm telling you now, that I think that he's smart in some ways, dumb in other ways. Not to mention that I've also had the conversation about Elon Musk many times before on my stream, and people that watch me more frequently will know that this is my position, is that I think he's smart in some ways and dumb in other ways. So no, you didn't get a dunk, you didn't get a concession. That's always been my position. I've talked about this position publicly, and in fact, I was talking about this position privately with my girlfriend just before I went live, funny enough.
Okay, well, I can't have a conversation with you if you keep interrupting and muting me, and whenever I do the same to you, you say, let's get back to the substance matter. You're not actually willing to have an actual discussion with someone, and then you say, oh, it's my live, so I can do what I want. It's like, well, that's a very dishonest way to have a conversation with somebody. I'm willing, I can mute you and shut you up, but you can't do the same to me because it's my platform. Talk about not defending free speech. If you're actually an advocate for that, then you would totally never do that, and you would not say this is my platform. So I think you're a very dishonest debater, and you always go back on when I interrupt you, you say something different. And when you interrupt me, you say something different. So I don't think you're logically consistent with your arguments, and I think you're very dishonest based on the way this conversation's had, because I've had to unmute myself over 25 times. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. And every single time, and you have this huge backing of teenage girls that is supporting everything you say, so you're stuck in this tunnel vision to where you're never going to be able to get out of it. And it's really unfortunate that you can't have an actual discussion because you're a smart guy. And I feel bad for that. So I'm going to leave because we can't have an actual
Loser! Holy fuck the cope! I muted you one fucking time in the last thing that you were saying because you were going on and on and on about how you think that you got a dunk on me, but then you go on this long fucking tirade and rant about how much you think I suck because I've muted you, and then you say that you're gonna leave? Bro, holy shit, have a spine, have a backbone. If I'm so bad at debating, if I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, tell us why you support Trump. I'll hold myself back. I won't mute you. I'm so sorry for being a dishonest little fucking weasel and muting you 25 times in our conversation so far. I apologize. I have the ukulele in my hands. I'll play you a song and give you tears. I'm so sorry. Wait. I'm so sorry for interrupting you.
This is a very immature.
I'm sorry for muting you. I understand that what I did was wrong.
Really?
And I'll never do it again, Johnny. I'll never do it again. Please don't leave. Please don't leave, Johnny. Please. I want you to stay with me.
Society?
And I want you to debate me.
This is so sad.
About why you support Trump.
I've never actually declared my support for Trump.
Well,
this is so. Do you see what you're doing? This is so dishonest.
So you said that you never declared your support for Trump. Okay. Well, so the conditions for joining my live are as follow. So you have to be at least 18. You have to be MAGA. You have to support Trump, and you have to be from America. Not to mention that the background, the title of the stream says, "Why do you support Trump?" So yeah, you have declared your support for Trump, and he left and he ran away. Dude, I would hate to be Johnny. His life fucking sucks.